Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby. Y'all ready to go swimming?
I love that intro song. Thank you, everybody, for coming in today. It's a fun one today. We got Austin Dufault, the North Dakota native who's now in the National Basketball Association coaching for the Chicago Bulls. But his story is a great one. And it starts off in Kildare, North Dakota. And then he went and played college basketball for Colorado and then played overseas for a couple years and then made his way back. And one of the greatest stories I've ever heard on this podcast, bar none, was Austin's first time meeting LeBron James when the Los Angeles Lakers hired him to coach the Lakers. And it's an amazing story. So you're in for a treat today. So really appreciate Austin Dufault taking the time in a busy schedule. They were doing a shoot around at Toronto. They were playing the Raptors the evening that we filmed this. So appreciate Austin. And from one person who has a big dream to see another person who has living out the dream, it was very inspiring to see. So appreciate Austin taking the time. But before we get to Austin Dufault, we got to talk about our sponsors because they make today possible. First and foremost, I'll be working with these folks in the broadcasting booth. That is PSP Network. It's game day. They've been promoting local student athletes for a very long time. They're in the heart of tournament season right now with girls and boys basketball. That includes the WDA, one of the best tournaments in the state of North Dakota, and also some regional terms. So check out their schedule of events on their website. That's psp.network, or make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel where you can find all their events that have been recorded. That's at PSP Network. Nick Holberg, who's the head man over there, does an amazing job, and we appreciate all the support PSP Network has given Swim Lessons, the podcast. And then if you're ever in Williston, North Dakota, hey, go check out this place. They got good burgers, good wings, everything you want. River's Edge Bar and Grill. They've been known for offering the best happy hour in town and providing unbeatable deals in a lively atmosphere. Guests can also enjoy a variety of entertaining activities, including bingo, trivia, and the very popular Name That Tune. Come down to River's Edge for great drinks and great food. River's Edge Bar and Grill, Williston, North Dakota. And then, Glasso Angus. Appreciate Glasso Angus for the sponsorship. They're a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. They're your premier source for registered Black Angus cattle since 1973. Glasso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and docility, and they're built to thrive on the northern plains. Check them out at their website. That's Glasso, Glasoe, Angus.com. They've been putting up a lot of cool things on their website, so they're getting ready for the big bull sale, I believe. And then last but not least, I'll be working in the broadcast booth with these cats as well. They do a great job over here in Northwest North Dakota. That is Game Day Media. More than a game, your leader in live video sports coverage in Northwest North Dakota. At Game Day Media, our goal is to expose, support, and promote the best athletes that North Dakota has to offer. Subscribe to our channel at Game Day Media ND on YouTube. Find us on Facebook at Game Day Media for schedules, quick links to games, stats, and make sure you enable alerts to see what your favorite student athlete is up to and all these tournaments that Game Day Media is going to have. So appreciate them, Dave and Randy Peterson, the GOATs. So how fortunate are we to have a lot of sports coverage here in this North Dakota when it comes to tournament time? Very fortunate. That's the answer. But that's enough of that. Appreciate the sponsors. Thank you. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting closer to 500, which is the goal. So appreciate everybody tuning in. But this was a fun conversation. It's one we've had in the works for a while. So I give you now the amazing and wise Austin Dufault. What's up, man? Good to see you. Thank you for doing this so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here. I appreciate you reaching out and love to talk with you for a little bit.
How's the NBA season been going so far? Because right now you're in Toronto, right?
Yep.
So what was today looking like? Because today's a game day for you, right?
Yeah, so typical, game day, coaches meetings at 8, and then we have an early bus go over at 9 to the arena, so we take over a few of our young guys, get some extra work in early in the morning before shoot-around starts. So we brought 4 players over, got shots with them, watched some film, and then the rest of the team came over at 9:45. We were in the locker room by 10, watched some Toronto film, talked about their scout, and then we went on the court from 10 to 11, had our shoot around, walk through, got a bunch of shots up, back to the hotel around noon, lunch down in the ballroom, watch film with a couple more guys, and then now, just kind of relaxing. Everybody goes, takes a nap, get ready for the game tonight, and then 7:30 game. So the first bus will be at 4:45. Again, those young guys will go over. They'll have the first shooting times, and it kind of just goes down from young guys to the vets. And then we'll meet at 40 on the clock, go through Toronto personnel, and then 7:30 tip off. So, busy days on game days. This time right now in the middle of the day is kind of when everybody eats, players take a nap, that type of stuff. So get off their feet for a little bit and be ready to play tonight. Can't beat a good nap, even NBA players. I love that. Oh yeah. This year in Chicago has been an interesting year for you. What's it been like to work with the team this year, and what can you share with us about this year's roster that excites you as a coach? Yeah, I think just the style of play that we have going from last year to this year, we're playing a lot faster, shooting a lot more threes. Obviously last year we were more isolation heavy with a player like DeMar DeRozan, just the way that, he can close out games and he's so good in those situations. I think obviously losing him, we kind of had to look at ourselves and, decide what kind of style of play we wanted to have. And I think for our personnel, playing fast, make or miss, get the ball up the floor, the way the league is going with the amount of threes teams are shooting, we've kind of adopted that. And I think, early in the season, we were top 2 in the league in 3-point attempts and top 2 in makes. So that's kind of the identity that we're playing with, just a relentless, fast-paced identity, try to, wear teams down over the course of 48 minutes. And, it's been great. I think we have a lot of young players, to mix with Zach and Vooch so that we can keep that pace up throughout the game and really try to wear teams down. Yeah, Zach LaVine, he's been a player that I've watched. I'm a Timberwolves guy, so I watched him go throughout that, and then to see him in the slam dunk contest. I mean, fantastic athlete, arguably one of the better athletes in the NBA. What's he like to work with, though? Like, what's he like to work with, and what's he like off the court? Just on top of obviously like his athleticism, you talk about like the dunk contest stuff. His ability to shoot the ball is probably one of the best players that I've ever worked with. No kidding. Just how accurate he is as a shooter. Off the dribble, off the move, like the type of guy, the type of shots that he makes, there's only a few guys in the league that can do what he does as a shot maker. Plus, then you add that to his athleticism and the open floor and in transition, he's been one of the best players in the league transition-wise. He's just a pro. He comes in every day, and at this point in his career, he understands, his routine, what he needs to do to take care of his body, to get his work in. And then off the court, he's a family man. He's expecting any day now. He's expecting his third child. So, wow. Him and his wife. If he's not at the gym, he's at home. With his kids and taking care of his family. And he's just a guy who's about the right stuff. And I really enjoy being around him every day. On Twitter lately, there's been this bad thing going around where they're talking about NBA ratings and they're talking about how it's down, all this, blah, blah, blah. But just like anything else, Austin, I feel like it's kind of a even level thing and kind of going down now, but it's going to go on the up and up. What is your thoughts on the ratings thing right now? You hear Charles Barkley talk about it, but personally for you, what's your thoughts on the NBA ratings? Personally, I think right now, I don't know if there's been a time where the league had more talent than they do right now. I think, people just consume the NBA differently now, whether it's, maybe people aren't sitting down and watching a full game the way that they used to, just at home on their couch in front of their TV. People are streaming in and out, through the NBA app on League Pass. They're seeing highlights on, Instagram or Twitter. So I think the way it's consumed now is just differently, than it was in the past. Just like everything else, with things changing the way that they are. But I think, once we get into the second half of the season, start getting closer to the playoffs, I was watching the game last night at Memphis and Houston, and it was, playoff intensity, 2 physical teams, and it's incredible basketball. Both teams have so much talent from, the first guy on the roster to the 12th guy. And, I think just as the season goes on, people will start to see more and more of that. And, I'm excited to see what happens with the play-in tournament and the playoffs and how all that shakes out. So, well, there's so much going on TV right now. You got NFL playoffs, the college football just ended. I mean, it's a lot. So I think I agree with you 1,000%. Speaking of talent, man, when you first get to like the league and you're kind of evolving as a coach, what was the first NBA game like when you saw them going up and down the court and you're like, okay,
This is a different type of basketball. There's some of the best athletes in the world here. The game's probably a little bit faster, a lot more 3-point shooting. What was it like though for you to see your first NBA game on the sidelines as a coach?
Honestly, going back before my first game, it was probably my first day in the NBA when I got hired by the Lakers as an intern. And, my head's spinning. I get to the facility and I have to do some HR stuff and get onboarded and get my computer because I'm, trying to learn how to do video for the first time. And they basically give me a bag with some gear in it. They're like, hey, put some shorts on and a shirt and some basketball shoes and be on the court. In 10 minutes, guys are going to work out. So I get out there and I'm kind of waiting for players to get on the floor. And, LeBron walks out. We had just, signed him. So LeBron comes on the court, Michael Beasley and, Kyle Kuzma. So they're going to do like a little 3-man workout. And I'm standing there under the basket getting ready to rebound. And one of our assistant coaches goes, all right, Austin, you guard LeBron. One of our other video guys, you guard Michael. And then the other guy, you guard Kuz. We're going to work on some, back down stuff, some stuff where you're getting a catch at the elbow and they're going to face up. So that was like my first day on the job. They're like within, 15 minutes, they're like, all right, you're going to guard LeBron while he's working out. And just obviously you see him in person for the first time. It's incredible. But then, just to see him physically, the way that he moved up close, it was, it's like seeing, a guy that should be a defensive end or, Karl Malone, but he has point guard skills. Like there's nothing that really can compare to it. So that was kind of my first time seeing that. And then as far as my first game, we had a preseason game in San Diego, and I think we played the Nuggets. And just being out there for guys' pregame shooting times and just kind of like the buzz in the arena, like, we had Lonzo Ball on the team and, just seeing the reception that he got out just to go out for his, 15-minute shooting time before the game. And, that was a preseason game. We hadn't even gotten into the regular season yet. So just the intensity and, the fan interest and all that type of stuff is really remarkable to see that.
How did the workout go with LeBron then? Did he back you down a few times or what was going on?
So I kind of just treated it like I'm a sparring partner. I'm just trying to give him a feel, but not, stay away from him, give him a little look, but, otherwise just let him do his thing. So, it went well. It was great. And, from there, that's kind of, now I'm 7 years in the NBA and have been able to experience some cool stuff, but that was definitely like a welcome to the NBA moment on the coaching side for sure.
Luke Walton was there at the time, right?
Yeah.
What was Coach Walton like?
Just a brilliant mind offensively. Obviously he was such a good player in college at the University of Arizona, played in the league, won multiple championships, and played for Phil Jackson, played for Lute Olson, North Dakota native.
Yeah, shout out Lute Olson.
Yeah, so just his knowledge of the game, especially offensively, and he was as a player, he is such a good passer. Even though he was at the 4 position, he really connected the floor. And that's kind of the way he was as a coach. Like he really tried to connect guys and have guys see the play within the play. So, he's a great dude. He's actually in Detroit now as their lead assistant. And, I learned a ton that first year being able to work with him and, some of the other assistants on that staff.
One of the like many arenas that I want to go to is Staples Center. Well, now it's, what is it? LA Crypto or whatever center, but what's Staples Center like? Because you hear all these, like when them and the Clippers were there, I'm a big Phil Jackson guy. So like watching Kobe and Powell and all those guys back in the day and there'd be celebrity roll on the side. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be so fun. That's like your workplace. What tell us a little bit about Staples Center and the Bus family and all of them.
Yeah, no, it's a really special place to play. Even before I worked for the Lakers, my senior year, we played the Pac-12 tournament there, and we ended up winning the Pac-12 championship in Staples Center. So that, it always had a special place in my heart. Being able to win there, cut the nets down, and make the NCAA tournament my senior year, kind of like to cap my career at Colorado, was incredible. And then to get a job with the Lakers and be working there, game days was pretty amazing. But yeah, it's, you're rebounding for guys and you're looking around and you're seeing Floyd Mayweather's walking to his courtside seat or Odell Beckham Jr. and all these different people. It's pretty amazing, but you still have a job to do at the end of the day and, focus on what you're doing on the floor. But there's definitely like a buzz, in the arena, and you see the history and the banners and, the purple and gold and all that stuff. It was really cool to experience that for a year.
Well, this is a good segue into North Dakota, because as a fellow dreamer from the great state of North Dakota, and you from North Dakota, I just want to say congrats, man, on making your dream fulfill. It very inspiring to see. But take us back, because you went to high school in Killdeer, North Dakota, right?
Yep.
Take us back to kind of your Killdeer days and the run you guys had there. And when you picked up the basketball, you're like, wow, the game of basketball is going to help me, not necessarily, I don't know if get out is the right word, but a way to kind of make a financial plan for me and my future family.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, growing up in Killdeer was incredible. Just, even outside of basketball, everybody who's from the state of North Dakota knows you have, fishing, Lakes Kakawea, pheasant hunting in the fall, deer hunting. I grew up doing all of that stuff. I played multiple sports, baseball, football, basketball. And, I always loved basketball. My dad was a coach. He coached high school in Killdeer for a long time. He was my head coach for, the 5 years that I played for him.
No kidding. How was that?
Yeah. Oh, it was great. It was, just having the key to the gym, like, especially growing up, obviously everybody knows winters are harsh in North Dakota. So
just a little bit.
Yeah. So both my parents were teachers, and then my dad was the head basketball coach. So having that key, being able to get into the gym late at night, go back, get shots up. I grew up with a great group of kids that, our parents were all teachers, and we'd go back at night, we'd get shots up, we'd play one-on-one, and it was a great way to grow up. Just in a small town, everybody knows each other, and, athletics were such a big part of everything that we did. So, my experience was amazing there playing for my dad. There were some times where, we had some heated moments and, some quiet car rides home from the gym after practice. But, at the end of the day, like there's nobody I would have rather played for, obviously, than my dad. And that's really, he played at Valley City State, got into coaching, and that's kind of where my love for the game came from, just growing up around it. And, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, going to watch his practices and seeing the guys. And, to me, those were like the superstars, seeing the guys that were on the varsity and being able to watch those practices. And, that's kind of what I dreamed of doing. And I made a decision when I was going into my freshman year of high school. I, was kind of choosing between playing baseball in the summers, but we didn't have a high school baseball team. So I had to travel to Dickinson, which is about 30 minutes away, or, getting into AAU basketball. And, basketball is my first love. It's what I wanted to do. So I kind of made that decision to focus my summers on basketball. And so that's what I did. And, that's where I put my focus, but then, like I was saying, I played all sports. So in the fall, I'd play football, basketball in the winter. The spring, I played high school golf. And then, after that, it was just basketball all summer long. So,
well, I think you made the right choice.
Yeah. And I also was blessed to, grow and hit a huge growth spurt, going into my freshman year of high school. I grew to about 6'5", 6'6", and kind of decided, like, all right, this is what we're going to do. I got some size, I might have opportunity to pursue this out, after high school and play college basketball. And, I kind of just made that decision early on that that's what I wanted to do. When
did Colorado come knocking at the door?
So going into the summer before my senior year of high school, I didn't have any Division I offers. So I'd played, some small tournaments every summer. We'd have one in Minneapolis in the spring, and then we'd play in, Kearney, Nebraska, or Sioux Falls. And a lot of those were mostly like Division II schools that were, watching those tournaments. So North Dakota State was transitioning from Division II to Division I. So they were recruiting me, Northern State, Augustana, and Sioux Falls, a lot of the local like Division II schools I was getting a lot of interest from. But nobody had really ever seen me play outside of, just kind of like the upper Midwest. So that summer, my AU program, we ended up playing tournaments in Indianapolis, Louisville, and then to end the summer, we went to Las Vegas for the Reebok Big Time. So I had some really good games in the Louisville and Indianapolis tournaments, and started getting some like lower mid-major Division I type interest. And then when we played in Vegas, we made it to the championship game of the A division. So the way they break it up is like the open division is the guys like the Greg Odens and OJ Mayo, Derrick Rose, those teams.
Mm-hmm.
They have a championship, and then all the other teams kind of get slotted into different divisions. So we had a great run. We made it to the A division championship game. So we played right before the big dogs.
Ooh.
And I had a really good game, had like 19 and 10 and shot the ball well. And after that game, it was Colorado, Washington State, Creighton, Montana State. They all started calling my dad, and they're asking, who is this guy? Like, he's 6'8", he can handle the ball, he can shoot. And he's like, oh, well, he's my son. I'm actually, the high school coach, but he's my son. So that's kind of over the course of 2 weeks, really my life, changed playing in those tournaments. And, I was kind of set on maybe North Dakota State or Augustana were the schools that I was really looking at. And, it happened almost overnight where I got some, interest from some bigger conferences and Division I offers. And so it was a lot, it was a lot to go through and process at the time. But, I was just very fortunate that I got that exposure and, had the opportunity for people to see me play.
So you get to Colorado. How did because me, myself, I went from Crosby to Dickinson State to play football, and I got a little homesick right away. How was it for you, though, going from Killdeer to Boulder? That had to be a big transition.
Yeah, it was. Right before my freshman year, my parents actually both got teaching jobs in Colorado. So they moved to Greeley, which is about an hour away from Boulder. So just having their support and having them an hour away from me was amazing. My younger brother was going into his sophomore year of high school. So I was, look back on like the sacrifice that he made because he had a lot of great friends that he had grown up with in North Dakota. But, my family felt at that time it was the best, best for them to move. And, so my sister, they currently live in Colorado, her and her family, they live about 15 minutes away from my parents. And, we kind of all ended up moving down to the state. So, it ended up working out great. And, I love Colorado. It's like my second home now. Yeah. But, there was definitely an adjustment period, having lecture hall classes my freshman year where there's 300 students and I'm coming from a town of 600 people. It's, there's as many kids in this lecture hall as there was at my high school games, growing up. So, but it was amazing. Boulder's an amazing city. It has a really small town feel. The campus is incredible. Like, it's a very tight knit, university. And, when I took my visit there, I just felt like I was at home. You have the mountains in the background, and growing up in the Badlands, there was that kind of, it just felt like it was the right place to be. So,
as a former Buffs guy, then what do you think of Coach Prime and everything going on there?
I thought it was incredible.
Me too.
And just, the buzz for the university that it created, how much exposure it had for the university. And then for them to make the improvement that they did from year one to year two with the amount of turnover they had on their roster. And, we got the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I love everything about it. And, hopefully we keep him for, the next few years because he's proved like he can do it. And, he's going to be able to keep bringing talent in. And at the end of the day, if the football program's being successful, it's great for the basketball program. It's great for the entire university. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. I thought he might go to the Cowboys. Like, I was legit thinking Jerry Jones is that kind of guy where we're going to bring Dion. We need the Sander boys.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm glad he stayed though.
Yeah, me too. He's great for college football. Okay, so your 4 years at Colorado. Tell us a little bit about that because obviously you transitioned a lot as a basketball player, but also as a person. So tell us a little bit more about that journey and then break down when you went overseas.
Yep. So when I took my visit to Colorado, Jeff Bizdelik was the head coach. He had a lot of success at Air Force Academy, and they ran the Princeton, and just thought it would be a great fit for me. But on my visit, they took me into the locker room, and there was no locker room. It was completely like torn down to the studs, and they had like renderings, like drawings of what it was going to look like. And he was kind of like, "This is like a metaphor for where the program is at right now. Like, we're tearing this thing down. We're bringing in." We had a group of 5 freshmen that he was bringing in, and I was on my visit, and there was going to be another group of, 5 guys coming in the next year. And he was like, you guys are going to be basically the young core that kind of starts everything over here. So that's what, what they sold me on, and having the opportunity to play, coming in right away as a freshman is what I was looking for. So we took our lumps my freshman year. We won 9 games. I think we were 9-23, only had a couple wins in the Big 12, but we had something like 10 losses by 4 or less points. And you could kind of see what we were starting to build. My sophomore year, we built on that. We were about 500. And then Coach Bizdelic left to take a job at Wake Forest, and we brought in Coach Boyle from Northern Colorado. And, he just kind of kept the thing moving in the right direction. He kept our team together. We had a group of 5 seniors and 5 juniors. And my junior year, we won 25 games. Senior year, won 25 games. So it was really like we built it over the course of 4 years and stayed together and, really stuck through some tough times. But, to everybody's credit that I played with, like to this day, we're all very close. I was back home for a college teammate's wedding in Aspen this past summer. And, there's 12 to 15 of us at the wedding. And, just at any point during those tough times, we could have all gone our separate ways, but we stuck through it for 4 years. And it's something that, the way the college landscape is now, you may not see again. So to be a part of something like that was incredibly special. And, like I mentioned earlier, we capped it off my senior year. We won the Pac-12 tournament, made the NCAA tournament, and kind of went out on a high note. So, my 4 years there has definitely had its bumps along the road, but, for us to build it the way that it did, and then, now they've had the success they've had with some, guys going to the NBA, some really talented players. It's been pretty amazing to see from, when I first stepped on campus.
What a genius move by that first coach to when you're breaking down the locker room. Dude, that is like the brilliant marketing by him.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was true, and then the other thing was we had broken ground on a practice facility, and they've opened it going into my senior year of college. So it was really like everything with the basketball program. They were really starting to, build it up, and, it was the same with the roster, same with the group of guys. So, it's amazing to see now where everything's at.
Wow. Okay. So you had a few NBA workouts though, right? Did you ever think you had one? Where was the one at? Mavericks, wasn't it?
I had one with the Nuggets.
The Nuggets, that's who it was. How was that?
So I tell this story, and it's really funny looking back on it. So I was playing well my senior year, had a couple agents reach out, talking about playing professionally, and I ended up signing with the agent after my senior year. And, he's really trying to give me some workouts, anything that can help me get, some NBA exposure, or even more so help my market when I got overseas. Because if they're able to tell teams, hey, this guy worked out for a team or played summer league, that's going to always help you play at a higher level once you get to Europe. So I was working out, training all summer, just hoping I would get a workout. And it was afternoon, and me and my wife, we were out at a place, day drinking in Boulder, just hanging out. It's beautiful. It's the middle of the summer, 80 degrees outside. So we're hanging out, and I get a phone call from my agent. So I walk outside, I answer the phone, and he's like, Austin, I got you a workout. I'm like, wow, that's great. Like, who's it with? He's like, oh, it's with the Nuggets. They had a guy, he's not going to be able to make it to the workout, so they need you to replace him. And I'm like, okay, when's the workout? He's like, yeah, tomorrow morning. You need to be at the practice facility at 7:30 in the morning. So I'm like, okay. So I go in and talk to Lauren. I'm like, all right, we got to get out of here.
Check, please.
Okay. Yeah, check. Got to get out of here. Went home, hung out for a couple hours, ate something, went to the gym, got up 1,000 shots on the gun, and then went the next morning, had my workout. Tough. It was a really tough workout. We played basically for over an hour, did some shooting, really quick shooting drills, and then it was just full court 3-on-3.
Wow.
For about an hour, and got after it. And it was an awesome experience, just to be able to do that and kind of see, now being on the coaching side, we get an opportunity every summer to run the draft workouts. So, you get to see it from that perspective, but as a player to go through it, and, I only had one. A lot of these guys, they'll have 15 or 20 of them, in a very condensed time. So they're getting tested physically, mentally in a draft workout, jumping on a plane, from Chicago, and they got another one the next night in Detroit. And then, from Detroit, they go to New York and work out for the Knicks. So just the the toll it takes on these guys just to even get in front of teams and perform and be evaluated going into the draft. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, I always like to tell that story to our
That's
guys.
awesome.
I had a draft workout, I was a replacement guy for the Nuggets.
So then it didn't work out. You go probably talk to your agent. He's like, hey, there's an opportunity overseas. And then you spent a lot of time over there though, right? It was like 6 or 7 years, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I ended up playing professionally for 6 years.
Okay.
So I signed, my first deal was in the Czech Republic. It was a team that had played in some like European competition, but they were taking a step back financially. So really good like organization and team in the Czech Republic, and a good place for me coming in as a first year guy coming out of, college as a rookie, to get my foot in the door. So, from day one, it was a crazy experience, getting over there. Paychecks were late. You're taking the bus 5 hours across the country to play a game, going back in the same day. So just, the adjustment from the experience in college where we're flying on a charter jet and, having all kinds of access to different things to, playing overseas and the grind that it is. I learned that pretty quickly in my first year, but, I had a great experience, loved everything about it. And then I was fortunate to play for, 5 more years after that and, played all over the place, a lot of different places. So it was a good experience.
Did you know Brian Qualley at all?
I did. So we were AAU teammates. He was a year older than me. So we played on the same AAU team for me going into my junior year and he was going into his senior year.
Jeez,
So,
that team must have had some height.
yeah, we had Brian and then Derek Selvig, who also played at Montana. And then myself. So we were like the 3, 4, 5 on that team. So we had a very, talented AAU team.
So were you the 3?
Yeah.
Selvig 4, Qualley 5. How was that, man? You guys were really, because I talked to Derek 2 weeks ago. He's at Dickinson State now doing a lot of great things. And he was talking a little bit about working with Brian and Coach Tinkle. But I mean, dude, AAU, U3, how were some of those games? It must have been Dunk City.
Yeah, it was great. I was still kind of trying to figure things out as a player, and to be able to look up to those two guys and see the types of high school careers that they were having. And then, I got to watch kind of them go through the process of being recruited by some big time teams. And it just gave me like the kind of like the hope or the belief that like, hey, it's happening for these two guys. Like I got to keep putting the work in because next summer, it'll be my opportunity and then I'll get a chance, to maybe play at a high level and at the Division I level. So just being able to be around those guys and, our AAU practices and spending hours on the bus with those guys going around to different tournaments, it was 2 great guys to be able to play with.
So playing career is now done. What are your thoughts? Do you think, okay, I want to stay around the game of basketball. Maybe I go back and get into coaching somewhere. Obviously your dad did it, so he maybe has some input on that, but take us to the tough transition that probably realizing, okay, playing career's over. Now it's time to find what the next step is.
So I finished my 5th year overseas. I played in Hungary. And after the year, I was kind of on the fence. Didn't really know if I wanted to keep playing overseas, because it's a grind. You're over there for 9 to 10 months, away from family and friends. And it's tough, so I was kind of on the fence going into my last year. I didn't know if I wanted to play or not. And I had a close friend of mine who was actually an agent, and he reached out to me and he said, hey, there's a team in Japan that's looking for, their last American player. Would you have any interest in it? So I said, yeah, definitely look into it, see, what it's all about. And, it was a great opportunity to go play. It was the first league in Japan. And just, for me, it was an opportunity to go play somewhere that I'd never been, live in a different country that I'd never been to. And, I kind of just decided once I signed the contract to go over there, okay, this is going to be my last year. I'm going to really enjoy it, but, I'm going to take the next 10 months and try to figure out what am I going to do when this is over with? So I knew I always wanted to get into coaching, and my wife, Lauren, was like, okay, you're entering the business world now. You need to have, some sort of a resume. You need to have a LinkedIn page. You need to start making connections with people because people need to know, okay, you're not playing anymore and you're interested in, entering the real world. So she helped me make a LinkedIn page, put together a resume, and, kind of that second half of my season in Japan, I just started, reaching out to people. And we were living in the off season, we were living in Southern California. That's where I'd work out, and we would spend our summers together. So I kind of just started looking at all the colleges, the pro teams, everybody in Southern California, just seeing if there was anybody on staff maybe I knew or had some sort of a connection with that I could reach out to. So I ended up reaching out to a guy, Nick Lagis. He was a GM most recently in the G League for Mexico City's G League team.
Oh,
but
nice.
He was working for the Lakers G League team, kind of as like a ops guy. And he went to Colorado at the same time that I did, but he wasn't involved in the basketball program, but he was working for the Lakers G League team. So I was like, this is like, how do I not know who this guy is? So I sent him a message and just kind of was like, hey, I'm interested in getting into coaching. Is there anything with the G League, I could maybe be a fit for? I was like, I'll volunteer, I'll intern, I'll do anything, just trying to get a start in coaching or even just get put in the right direction. So fortunately, he hit me back and, he said, send me your resume. I'll try to pass it around the building here and see if there's anything that, might open up. So at the same time I was talking to him, I was talking to somebody from a medical sales company. And a couple days after I sent him my resume, I ended up going and doing an interview for a medical sales job. And interview went great. Everything was great. But I got in the car afterwards and I was just like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like, it's right for me. And literally like 2 days later, my phone rang and it was the head video coordinator for the Lakers. And he said, Luke Walton's looking for, one more intern. They're looking for a former player who was a big and, somebody who's interested in getting into coaching and wants to learn all the video stuff and can still get on the floor. And I said, I'd love to meet with you and talk about it. So a couple of days later, I drove up to LA. We had lunch and he basically offered me the job on the spot.
Let's go.
I jumped at, I just said, I'll take it. I called my wife and we talked about it. And, it's such an amazing opportunity. I felt like I obviously couldn't pass it up. So, but it was literally just a chance thing of reaching out to Nick on LinkedIn and him taking my resume and reaching out to Will. And, they had one spot open and the timing was perfect. So, I tell everybody, that asks me that's trying to get in, you got to just kind of put yourself out there, reach out to people, let them know you're interested, let them know you'll do anything, any role, whatever it takes just to get a foot in the door because it's such a competitive industry. But I was extremely lucky with the timing and the way that everything worked out. And, 7 years later, I'm still able to do it and live the dream every day. So it's been pretty cool.
Wow. That's, I mean, you think about how life is very, you get lucky sometimes. Like your wife telling you, hey, but you took a lot of time and I got to take a tip of the hat to you for taking time and being like, okay, I know this is going to be my last year. I need to prepare, but it's still like there's still a little luck involved. You know what I mean? Like just the luck that you had that you knew this guy man, that's still takes hard work, but you touched on earlier. So you go to the Lakers. It was a good time. You get to work with LeBron James, phenomenal player. Then what happens?
So we ended our season, missed the playoffs. Unfortunately, Luke Walton was let go. He ended up getting a job in Sacramento. And then we hired Frank Vogel kind of later in the summer, closer to Summer League. So they were trying to still figure out what they were going to do with the staff in LA. And I met with Frank when he got hired and he offered me the opportunity to stay potentially as an intern for a second year. But he said, if you have other opportunities you want to pursue, I would fully support that if I can help you in any way. And they were, nice enough to let me stay on with the coaching staff for Summer League. So I went with the Lakers to Summer League. And during that time, was reaching out to people from other teams. And I had a lot of like the thing with, working in the NBA is there's so many people that help you. So I had assistant coaches that were hearing about video jobs with other teams or guys that I worked with in the video room, hearing about, potential openings, and they would, throw my name out there or give me a heads up and I would reach out to people. So I had a couple of interviews at Summer League and I met with the Detroit Pistons. Somebody that I worked with in our video room in LA put me in touch with their head video coordinator. And I had an interview with Dwayne Casey and the head video coordinator, and was offered a full-time position to join the Pistons. It's full-time pay, whereas in LA, I was working as an intern,
Yeah.
Not making a thing, but just learning through experience, being able to be there every day and help the assistant coaches. So Detroit was a full-time job, full-time travel, be with the team on the road, do the whole thing. So I thought it was a great opportunity. And Coach Casey had worked in Minnesota with Fred Hoiberg, who is married to my dad's cousin, Carol.
Oh, wow.
So I had that connection, with Fred and Coach Casey, and, the relationship with Fred really helped me in that situation. So it was, offered the job, and, Coach Casey had just come out of Toronto to Detroit. He was coach of the year. They had just made the playoffs with the Pistons. So I thought it was just a great opportunity to work for a great coach, good organization, and just continue, trying to climb the ladder. So that's how
what's Fred like? Like I told you I'm a Timberwolves guy. Like watching Fred Hoiberg and the Timberwolves was the best. Like he's one of the GOATs in my book. But what's Hoiberg like?
Oh, he's an unbelievable guy. Family guy. His son is actually one of the video coordinators for the San Antonio Spurs now.
Oh, wow.
So I get to see him, when we play San Antonio, which is awesome. And he's doing an incredible job there with them. But Fred, just obviously as a player, he was in the league for a long time, coached in the league, and he's been around basketball for so long. Like, he has so many connections. So he's always been somebody, even going back to when I was first getting recruited, by Division I schools, he was somebody I could reach out to and be like, hey, what do you think of this coach? Or what do you think of this program? Do you think it would be a good fit? And he's always given me, incredible advice. So, but yeah, he's great. Another guy offensively, he was ahead of the time in Iowa State with their team, shooting threes and having George and Yang kind of be a stretch big and stretch the floor for them. So, but just awesome guy. Growing up, I'd go to his basketball camp at Iowa State, and I got to meet Reggie Miller. He was with the Pacers, so Reggie came out to speak to the camp one time. So when I was second grader, met Reggie Miller, listened to him speak to the camp, ate lunch with him afterwards, and so yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of the story of how I ended up with the Pistons.
I don't think you can beat Reggie Miller calling a basketball game as color commentator. Like, I love listening to him. He's truly, truly so fun to listen to. His knowledge of the game. You talked about it a little bit there, but Fred's son is the video coordinator. Imagine cutting tape every night of Wembanyama. Like, that's got to be a thrill in itself. Have you guys played the Spurs yet?
Yeah, we played them twice. At their place, he didn't play, but then we played them probably a month ago in Chicago when we beat him close game.
What's your thoughts on Wemby?
He's incredible. I mean, to see somebody that size, the first time you see him, it's like there's nothing that is really comparable to seeing him in person. There's a lot of guys like Boban and some of these guys that are huge, but just to see his length, how long his arms are, just the ground that he can cover at that size, the way he shoots the ball, like it's the skill that he has to be in that type of body it's incredible.
Think he'll have a chance to be one of the greatest? Yeah.
Obviously, you got to stay healthy, and luck plays a part of that. But if everything goes the right way, I don't see any reason why he won't be, one of the top players in the league for a really long time.
So we got sidetracked a little bit, my fault. But okay, so you go with Coach Casey for a few years at Detroit. Then you go to Chicago. Tell us about that little bridge and how you got to where you're at today.
Yep. So I was 2 years in the video room with Coach Casey, and then was fortunate that he promoted me. So I was 2 years as an assistant coach with Coach Casey in Detroit, gained a ton of great experience working for him. And then after our fourth year, he transitioned from his head coaching role into a position in the front office. And that's when they brought in Monty Williams. And, how it kind of goes in the league is, you bring in a new coach, and they have so many people, such a huge network of people that they worked with, that they eventually bring in their own guys. So ended up not staying with the Pistons and was looking for a job 2 summers ago, and was able to get in as a player development coach in Chicago. They had just hired Peter Patton, who's an incredible shooting coach. He was with the Dallas Mavericks. And he worked with Sean Sweeney, who I worked with during my time in Detroit. Sean left Detroit to go to Dallas. So those guys worked together for a couple of years, and I had a relationship with Sean, and Peter was looking to bring in player development guys into his program in Chicago with Coach Donovan. And my name was passed to him through Sweeney. And, that's kind of how we connected. And, it kind of fit what he was looking for. He was looking for somebody with some experience and could still get on the floor and move a little bit and work with the guys. So now I'm on year 2 being in Chicago, working for Coach Donovan and our player development program. And it's been amazing. Everywhere you go, whether it's the head coach or the assistant coaches, there's just so much knowledge of these guys that have been in basketball for so long. So, every day you're learning something new, whether it's from Coach Donovan, the assistants on our staff, the guys that I worked with in Detroit, like Sean Sweeney or Micah Norai, who's in Minnesota now. It's incredible. And every day you just try to just gain as much knowledge as you can. I'm constantly taking notes or trying to save stuff on my computer and take things away from all these guys that I get to work with. So, second year in Chicago and just, trying to keep it going.
What's the practice like with the great and powerful Billy Donovan?
Man, we get after it. He loves to play. So, we'll drill some stuff. But this past September, we had about 20 guys in Chicago for September workouts, and we would drill stuff, get a bunch of shots up, and then we would play, pick up and down, 14-second shot clock. And that was kind of part of us changing our identity to, playing fast, shooting threes, having that short shot clock for the whole month of September. Like, our guys came into training camp in unbelievable shape. And a lot of that had to do with, Coach Donovan and, looking at our roster and what's going to fit us the most. And, we changed a lot from where we were last year to this year. So, same thing, when we practice, we get after it. We don't go long, but we get after it, and guys get up and down and play hard. So, but he's an incredible motivator. He's incredible at messaging a team, understanding, what a team needs to hear on a day-to-day basis throughout the course of an NBA season, because it can get really monotonous, 82 games. And especially this time of year, January, February, like, it's the dog days and you really got to push through some tough times. But he's just been unbelievable with his energy, his passion every day. The way that he messages our team it's incredible.
Austin, do you ever, trying to figure out how to ask this question, it's been on my mind since we've been talking, but do you ever think of when you're walking in past like the Michael Jordan statue, going to a coach for the Chicago Bulls, do you ever think back to when you were a kid, like for Kildare, that you kind of have that little kid still inside you that wants to be a creative mind, love the game of basketball, and you're like, damn, here I am working in the same building where Michael Jordan played his career. Yeah. Here I am, with working with all these great athletes. I've had such a run. You ever have to stop and just pinch yourself a little bit and be like, I cannot believe I'm actually here. Like, I'm a part of the Chicago Bulls. This is such a sick experience. And just how does it feel? Like, it's got to be so surreal to you to make it from Kildare to go to Colorado to build off that. And now you're kind of where you want to be.
Yeah. I try to never, ever take it for granted. And you don't know how long you will have in the NBA because of how competitive it is. There's only a limited amount of jobs. And, it can change quickly. Coaching change happens or, anything happens and now you're on the outside looking in. So I try to take everything in every day. We were just in Boston, being in the Garden, you standing there and look up at the banners and, it's just the amount of history, in those places. And being able to walk into the United Center, the first time we had a preseason game and you hear the Bulls intro song and, they still do the same video and that intro song. And the first time, like, I had goosebumps. And, I looked around at the coaches standing next to me, and we had about 3 or 4 of us that were new to the player development staff. And we just all kind of looked at each other like, this is just, it's surreal to be a part of this now. And, like I was saying, 82 games, long season, times where you're stressed out, you're busy with work. it's easy to lose sight of that, but I try to constantly remind myself of like, hey, when I was 15, 16 years old, like this is what I dreamed of doing, and now I have an opportunity to do it. So I never try to take it for granted. I try to work as hard as I possibly can to support our players, to support, our head coach and our assistants, and, just do anything I can to stay in this league and keep building, my career.
Well, listen, we're proud of you, man. And I really greatly appreciate taking some time. Believe it or not, we've been at this for 45 minutes, but Austin, a question I ask everybody that comes on the Swim Lessons podcast is Swim Lessons a podcast about overcoming tough times? And what's something you can share to us throughout your career, whether it's personal or professional, that you say to yourself when your back's against the wall and you're trying to fight your way through something tough?
Just keep going, I think. It's keep going. And when I played overseas, I had a teammate, I was struggling. I was in a shooting slump, couldn't make a shot. And a European teammate of mine told me a saying. He was like, when it feels like you're going uphill, you have to keep a smile on your face. And I was like, why would you keep a smile on your face? He's like, because at some point you're going uphill, you're going to be at the top and it's going to get easier once you go down the other side. So, whenever things are a struggle, I always think back to that. I don't know why, but, I was going through a tough time my second year in Europe. And, he said that to me and it kind of just clicked. Like the only way to get through some of this stuff is you have to just go through it, and then you're going to learn from it and get better from it. But, if you don't go through it, or you half-ass it, or you don't put everything you have into it, you're not going to get everything back from it. So, that's just kind of something that I keep in the back of my mind. And again, I just try to remind myself how fortunate I am coming from, Killdeer to be able to experience all these things. And, even when it's difficult, you're landing at 3 a.m. and you get home, sick kids, you're up at 5 and you got to go to work. Like it's all part of the experience and part of the sacrifice that you have to make to be a part of this. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing for me.
I love it, man. Give us a quick plug where people can follow the journey at, social media wise.
Oh yeah, just I'm on Instagram I think it's at Austin Dufault 33, I believe.
Yep.
And you guys can follow me there. So yeah, follow
go
me on
Bulls.
Instagram, reach out, send me a message. Yeah. And go Bulls. Got All-Star break coming up here soon, and, push through for the second half of the season and try to make a push here. But no, I really appreciate you having me on. It's great talking to you, and, it's awesome. Really enjoyed it.
Well, I got to keep pushing too, man. It's that resonated with me because it's tough. You gotta live for something, and no matter what it is, you got to keep pushing. Like you said, what's the future like though? Real quick, before we end this, what's the future like for you? You just gonna look to keep doing your thing with the Bulls, and what would you like yourself? What's some goals you have?
Yeah, obviously the goal, getting into coaching is always, to become a head coach.
Yeah.
Whether that's getting an opportunity to do that in the G League, or just continuing to, try to build my career and eventually move to the front of a bench for somebody. Would love to run, whether it's an offense or a defense, and get that experience. But, right now, just trying to take it every day, keep learning, keep building the relationships with the players and coaches that I work with, and, kind of just see what happens, go from there. But, at the end of the day, everybody that does this would love to be a head coach. And, that's where I'd love to be at in a couple of years. Have
you ever read any of Phil Jackson's books?
Yeah.
So he talks about all the time, like he before he got even anywhere close, he was like coaching down in Mexico, in the Albany Patroons, and he was all over. So, dude, keep the faith. You're well on your way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's people that become, I think a guy like Nick Nurse or Chris Finch, who are head coaches now, they did their time back in the D League. Nick Nurse, both those guys were head coaches in England, then the D League. And so you never know where it's going to take you, but you just keep learning, keep building, try to get better every day, and, get better at your craft, just like as a player, same thing.
You ever have any run-ins with Phil Jackson?
So I actually, he came and spoke to our team last year.
What?
So our athletic trainer was with the Bulls when he was with the Bulls in Chicago, and then he was with the Lakers in LA. So he's been a part of 11 championships. So he had Phil come and speak to the team, and just getting a chance to sit and listen to him. And then even going back, my first year in LA with the Lakers, he came and spoke to our G League team. So I didn't travel with the Lakers full time. So when they were gone, I would go to some G League practices and help out. And Kobe Carl, George Carl's son, was the head G League coach. And he played for Phil with the Lakers.
Yep.
And he'll come and speak to the team in the film room one day. So I was at practice, and they're like, yeah, Phil's going to come after practice and talk to the team. So I was like, okay, this is incredible. So sat in the back and listened to him for about an hour, and he opened it up to questions. So I put my hand in the air, said, hey, I grew up in Killdeer, an hour south of Williston, and, asked him a couple of questions and got to talk to him a little bit. So that was pretty cool. But yeah,
What did he say?
I asked him because he had such a interest in psychology and, reading his books. And I studied psychology in college, and I kind of just, guys were asking him, who do you think is better, Michael or Kobe, or, stuff like that. Like hearing him answer that was cool too. But I just was like, where did your interest in psychology and getting into the minds of players and having that, feel for how to talk to players, like where did that come from? And he talked about his background growing up in a house where his father, I believe, was a pastor, and just, the constantly looking inward and, thinking about things from a different perspective and how other people relate to each other. He talked a lot about that, and, it was cool. It was really interesting to listen to him, but talking about brilliant mind. Unbelievable.
Did his face light up when you said you were from Killdeer?
Yeah, he said he'd been there. He goes, I've been to Killdeer. He's like, I've been through Killdeer. He's like, that's a nice area. So,
That's
I was like, that's
awesome.
pretty amazing. Phil Jackson came through Killdeer, back in the day. So pretty cool.
What was his message when he talked to the Bulls?
He talked a lot about just, the sacrifice for your teammate, what goes into winning. It's not always the glamorous things that you see, the 6 championships, and, it's all the other things, the monotonous things that you have to do every day, the work that you have to put in. He told an unbelievable story, and this just speaks to how amazing he is as a coach. But one of the players asked him, what's one of your favorite memories as a coach, like looking back a game or a moment. And Bill Wennington, who was on those Chicago Bulls teams, he's been a longtime radio guy now for the Bulls, so he travels with the team. So player asked this question, and Bill's like sitting in the back, and Phil kind of sits there for a second, and he thinks, and he goes, we're playing in New York, playoff game against the Knicks. I think it was like the Eastern Conference semifinals, and it's game 5, and we need a bucket, call a timeout, I drop a play, and Bill Wennington hits a 15-footer on the baseline for us to win the game. And he was like, just the silence in Madison Square Garden, because obviously he played there with the Knicks. He's like, coming out of that timeout, the floor is literally shaking, and Bill knocks down this shot, and it kind of just calmed us down for the series. We went on to win the series. But, talking to Bill afterwards, he's like, he could have said MJ's last shot. He could have said, he could have said anything. But because Bill was there and how it would make Bill feel to hear that story, that's what he said in that moment. So just the way that he's always thinking about other people, and to see that kind of in person was pretty special.
Man, I'm so jealous. That is like my hero of heroes. I love that, man. But did you watch The Last Dance?
Yeah.
Dude, I just thought it was so great at the end how they were like, Phil, would you have came back for one more year if Michael and Scotty and all those guys would have signed on? He's like, nope, it's time to be done. It's time to be done. It's a good time. Like that just speaks. He knew he's the last dance. It's so, and talking about psychology wise, how he brought in everybody write down something on a piece of paper and then they're going to burn it. And that's a good way to be done with it. The mind and the way he did everything was phenomenal. The Zen and the sage in the locker room. I mean, it's the best.
Yep. Yeah. His self-awareness and understanding of other people and what's needed at what time it's unbelievable.
Well, speaking of unbelievable, this was unbelievable. I appreciate Austin, and good luck with the rest of the way. Please keep in touch, and maybe we'll run this back if you ever make it down to Kildare. I'd love to meet you in person.
Sounds good. Would love to. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Austin Dufault.